Hello everybody, look what we got. Dude, I don't even know how to start any of these videos. Okay, well, I'll just say we caught another one.
Who's that Pokemon?
Okay, we did the Pokemon live solve, I don't know. Mr. Yi, you want to introduce yourself?
All right, sure. So my name is Oliver Yi, as my Zoom name implies. So I'm a current senior at Saratoga High School, which happens to be the same high school that Carrara goes to. And yeah, I'm going to be heading to UC Berkeley as part of their class of 2025 under the MET, which stands for Management, Entrepreneurship, and Technology Program. And basically, what the program allows you to do is you get to claim a dual degree in engineering and business in 4 years, and then you have the option to do a plus 1 year, so 5-year total MBA degree as well.
Yeah, dang. The main reason I went to Berkeley is because this guy's there. I'm clearly just copying him. Okay, let's just get into the fun stuff. Could you tell us more about what you do for fun and like what academic stuff, like extracurriculars, all that good stuff? So just a little bit more about you.
Yeah, I've been working on a lot of stuff in high school, but the main activity that I've basically been working on is a nonprofit called Silicon Valley Youth, which I helped build up starting in 7th grade when I joined the organization. And the idea behind this nonprofit was we would invite local high school students like myself or perhaps Rohan or any high school student in the area basically to teach classes that they are very experienced in, but also classes that they wouldn't see in the school system. So some examples of these classes would be like web design, public speaking, debate, model UN. I used to teach Science Bowl for a couple of years, and then I taught philosophy this past semester. So like kind of untraditional classes in the school system, and we would teach it to local middle school students whose parents could kind of afford to pay for these classes. And then after we charge money for these classes, we would take the proceeds and donate them to local underfunded school districts to help sponsor programs. So a couple examples of some things that we did with Silicon Valley Youth where we worked very closely with East Palo Alto in the Bay Area and South San Jose in the Bay Area as well. And we ran programs like music programs, writing contests, and a lot of things like that. I started as a secretary back in 7th grade, and then I worked up, and I was the president during my junior and senior years. So I was a pretty busy man, spent a lot of time on this organization. I guess as a rough estimate, I would say around like 8 to 12 hours per week, roughly. And it was basically a year-round thing because when I was not running the classes during the semester, I was doing outreach and working with other organizations. Beyond that, for extracurriculars, I did a lot of STEM stuff, especially with the great Carrara himself.
Yeah.
I did a lot of clubs on school, like Science Bowl, Science Club, Engineering Club. But also I had a lot of interest in very broad directions like business as well, which is why I kind of branched out and I did a lot of business stuff. So I actually ran FBLA as well. And I was very interested in Spanish and different languages. So I run Spanish Club at Saratoga High right now. And I'm trying to pick up Korean right now in my free time, though that's not going very well right now.
Dang, what are you even using to learn Korean? Duolingo?
I tried to use Duolingo, but there's this app on my phone called like Drops or something
Oh,
that apparently if you use it every day, you'll become very good at Korean. The issue is I have not been using it every day, which is why I have not been getting very good at Korean. So there's the issue.
bro, I really tried using Duolingo for French, but I couldn't figure out how to pronounce any of them, bro.
Tragic.
Actually,
Duolingo is too aggressive. It like will hunt you down if you forget to do one
yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah, I got so many emails from it. Whatever, it's okay. Which one was your favorite? Like beyond, I know you said like Silicon Valley Youth was your main thing, but like beyond Silicon Valley Youth, what did you enjoy doing the most? Like outside of that?
I think my favorite subject at school, I guess we can start with my favorite subject. So my favorite subject at school was always biology. Basically starting in 8th grade even, before I even went to high school, I knew that biology was really fascinating. And the reason I found biology so fascinating was I really enjoyed looking at the systems in the biology textbook. So for people who know biology, it's Campbell biology, right? And when I was reading the chapters about cells and human anatomy and plants, I was super amazed by how efficient like all the transport systems could work. Because a lot of times when I was reading, like a question that would come up would be like, oh, so how do we manage to transport or use glucose efficiently? And I would use like my feeble brain to think about it very hard. And then I would not be able to come up with a solution, right? But then I would read the next couple paragraphs. I'd be like absolutely blown away by how efficient like the biological systems of glucose transport or like microtubulin support work. And so that was basically the starting point for my high school journey in ninth grade. And basically in ninth grade summer, I decided to go to a biology research kind of summer camp where I learned a lot of lab techniques, and I got to get like lectured on microimmunology and all the fancy stuff about biology that I was interested in. But the cool thing that happened at that camp is that I realized that I was not cut out to be a researcher, because all I did was do like micropipettes for like 4 hours a day. And I did a bunch of blots and gel runs. So for people who don't know biology, basically you want to take a bunch of proteins and you want to see which one's bigger or smaller. So you just put them in a gel, run electricity through them, and the bigger guys will move slower and the smaller guys will move faster. And so I was doing that a lot, and it wasn't exactly fascinating. Like the idea behind how it worked was fascinating, but actually doing it wasn't great. So I wanted to take it and bring it somewhere, which is why I kind of started exploring the business aspect and how I could bring the knowledge that I have and kind of turn it into some sort of product where I could sell it. And so I guess outside of Silicon Valley Youth, my favorite subject was biology, and this kind of translated to a lot of the things that I did, because I was interested in turning the concepts of biology into a product or like a business concept. So that's why I did FBLA, and that's also why I did engineering club, because I wanted to build something based on biology. So biomimicry was the kind of subject area that I thought I would want to explore in college. And then this also led me to science club, because biology is a subcategory of science. And it also led me to science bowl, because like buzzer races with my biology knowledge was always very fun.
I guess you also have the same experience with research that I did. Not very fun, I agree. But yeah, business is cool. So what did you do for like, you did a lot of other business stuff too, right? Like, tell us more about that. You did like LaunchX and M&TSI and whatever.
Yeah. So after my freshman summer, or my summer where I was a rising sophomore, and I realized that biology wasn't like my thing, I wasn't going to become a lab researcher, I started to look to different avenues where I could continue exploring my interest of biology, but explore it in a different direction than like micropipetting for 16 hours a day and then running like data analysis samples on a computer, right? So I wanted to do something slightly different. And so my idea was, what if I could take the knowledge that I have or the research experience that I had gained and turn it into some sort of product, or turn it into some sort of app that I could send out and help people's lives very, very directly instead of working through the lab. And this was where I kind of found the program called LaunchX. So LaunchX used to be associated with MIT in Cambridge, I think. Yeah, in Cambridge. That's where MIT is. And then a couple years ago, they decided to separate and split into like different campuses. So there's like a Northwestern campus, there's an MIT campus. There's a couple other campuses I'm not really familiar with. But I decided to go to LaunchX, which is basically a summer business incubator program. And at this program, I was just kind of not really taught too much. I was just kind of thrown into the business world of running a startup. And basically we had 3 weeks to come up with an idea, create a prototype, create a slide deck, and then pitch it to investors. So they actually invited like a board of investors to come listen to our final pitches. And a couple of the teams got offer invites. So actually, after the program, one of the people on the panel like came up and like gave me his card, and he was like, "Oh yeah, if you're interested in continuing the project, or like if you have any things, just give me a call." So LaunchX is definitely like the starting point where I realized that like, whoa, this is what business is like. This is what the people who do business are like. And that's kind of where I got really excited, because I really, really connected with all these people. Oh, by the way, the product that we did at LaunchX was a bracelet called Memento, and we designed it for Alzheimer's patients. And the idea was that we found that Alzheimer's patients, they often forgot to do things, right? Because Alzheimer's is the loss of memory disease. And the most common thing that they forget to do actually is they forget to eat and drink. So a lot of Alzheimer's patients become very dehydrated, or they become very malnourished, and some of them even die. And when you have caretakers, it's a little bit better. But because Alzheimer's patients like lose their memory, they don't really remember the stuff that you're telling them. And they only really respond to voices that they're super, super familiar with. So basically, if I were to get Alzheimer's, like I would not really respond to Rohan. The only voice I could possibly respond to would be like either my kid or my mom, because these two voices I've been hearing for my entire life. So our idea was like, what if you could pre-record alarm messages, and then the bracelet would just like vocalize them? And so at LaunchX, basically what we did is we tried to turn this into a prototype. So we used like CAD skills. We went to makerspaces. I called up a bunch of doctors to pitch the idea to them and get kind of refined feedback on it. and we kind of worked through the first initial stages of like startups. And then after that summer, so this previous summer in 2020, I went to a program called M&TSI, which is the Management and Technology Science Institute at the UPenn Jerome Fisher M&T program. And that basically was the natural, I think to me at least, it was the natural outgrowth of LaunchX, where we were still given the freedom to come up with an idea and try to build it out, but they gave us a lot more instruction and a lot more guidance in terms of like, this is how you build a company. This is how you do market analysis. This is how you do a case study on an existing company. And at that program, like I was given like more of a taste of how like the college version of teaching business would work. And so yeah, that kind of led me naturally to MET, which is the Management Entrepreneurship Technology program at Berkeley. So yes.
Okay, very nice. Well, I think you covered basically everything that you do. This guy also does newspaper with me, but he didn't bring that up. That makes me so sad, Oliver. No, I'm kidding. But let us move on to the next question, which is, which one do you think you got like the most out of, or like, what do you think you got out of your extracurriculars?
Oh, I also do volleyball that I
Oh
also
yeah,
forgot
that's
to
another
mention.
big one.
So we can
Too
start
many
with
things.
volleyball, newspaper, and science ball. So I'll lump these three together. They seemingly don't have much to do with each other, but I put in a good amount of time into all of them. I would put into volleyball. During volleyball season, we put like 2.5 hours a day, 7 days a week, because we have games on the weekends and games during the week, and then practice during the weekends when we don't have games. For newspaper, it's kind of on and off because like sometimes you're writing stories, sometimes you're making layouts, sometimes you're like on people's butts to help edit their stories, right? So newspaper was a little bit on and off, but I'd say average was around 1.5, 2 hours a week. Sorry, 2 hours a day per week. And then for Science Bowl, we had 2 practices of 2 hours long every week. So for these three, basically all I did was like I got naturally for newspaper, I learned how to write stories. I learned how to design stuff. For volleyball, I stayed in shape and stayed healthy. And then through Science Bowl, I got more science knowledge. But the common thread that I think connects all of them is that I was able to make a lot of very interesting friends. So I consider these three activities like my kind of friend making activities where I got to meet a lot of different people because the three people who do newspaper, science bowl, and volleyball are very, very different types of people. I guess the next main activity that I had would be, I would say it would be FBLA because that's where I did a lot of competition stuff and I learned a lot of new things. So I guess I could lump that together with the previous three activities where I got to make a lot of friends because again, the people who do FBLA are different from the people who do Science Bowl. I guess with the exception of me. I think I'm the only person in FBLA who also does Science Bowl and vice versa. But yeah, to me, I think the biggest thing that I got out of my extracurriculars would definitely be Silicon Valley Youth. The reason being is when I joined the organization, it was basically a baby organization. It was just me and 2 other high schoolers at the time. And like I was a 7th grader. So it's just literally the 3 of us teaching classes out of our living rooms. Like I would just call my friends over from my soccer team. I'd be like, hey, I have a presentation on like how the US won the Indian War. And then like, hey, can you listen to my presentation? And it wasn't great, but from there I would only grow, right? And as the organization grew and grew, I had to learn a lot of skills on the spot because I've always felt that the best way to learn is just by doing directly. It's kind of hard for me to process the idea of like, oh, this is how you do business, or like, this is how you run an organization. Let me just teach you. Like, it doesn't really make sense unless you actually get the hands-on experience. So for me, the hands-on experience of running Silicon Valley Youth was definitely the most valuable experience. It grew from a 3-person organization to now it's like nearly 64 people who applied for a teaching position. And we have facilities all across the Bay Area. So some stuff that I had to deal with like was I had to make sure that the interview process and the onboarding process was really efficient. So I had to write down like application steps. I had to like document everything. And then when we were getting rentals, I had to manage like the facility rentals and we had to make sure that the finances checked out and we had to make sure that the money checked out. And then there are like legal concerns as well, right? Because you need to make sure that like technically you're minors teaching other minors. So we had to, I got pro bono just meaning free connections to law firms to write and work with me through legal documentation and just making sure that, I don't know, like we wouldn't get sued by accident or anything. And just dealing with officers, dealing with outreach, working with a lot of adults on the superintendent side because we donated money directly to these underfunded districts in EPA and South San Jose. So just talking to these parents, talking to these teachers, talking to the superintendents, it gave me a lot of valuable kind of interpersonal presentational skills that I think were the most valuable for my experience.
Okay, nice, nice. So I think that is like the main stuff for ECs. So I guess now we could talk about productivity tips. Very fun. No, I'm kidding. But just like, what do you think helped you like balance all this stuff? Because you did like a ton stuff. So like, what do you think helped?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. In my freshman and sophomore years, I did not have a thing to manage what I was doing. It would literally be I would come home, I would go to Canvas. So for people in high school, you guys should know what Canvas is. But for Saratoga High, at least, Canvas is just it's kind of like Google Classroom where you have all your classes listed and then all your assignments are listed there. I would just go to Canvas and then click on all my classes one by one and just do all the homeworks. And then once I got all the homework out of the way, right, that's like the bare minimum that like I knew I needed to do every single day. Once I got that out of the way, I would just have a couple hours of spare time, and I would just think about the things that I needed to do. And so I just did whatever came to my mind first. So sometimes like SVI things were urgent. Like I knew that like next week I need to send out the flyers. So I clearly had to make the flyers. And then I would just do that right away. And then I knew that like, oh, I wanted to like spend 2 hours drawing an art piece. So I would spend 2 hours doing an art piece. Um, I think in terms of productivity, it really started in junior year when I realized that kind of my time was pretty limited because in my freshman and sophomore years, to me, it almost seemed like I had some free time and I had a lot, like I had a pretty big margin every single day where I could just do whatever I wanted to do. But starting in junior year, I started to realize that like this method wasn't really working and I was kind of running low on time before I had to go to sleep every day. So I kind of adopted Google Spreadsheet at first, where every day I would just write down the things that I needed to do. But then recently I found that Google Calendar works a lot better because in Google Calendar, you can block out the time that like you're going to do something. And then it actually like, pings you like on your computer and also on your phone. Like it'll yell at you and say like, hey, there's 10 minutes until you need to like start working on your stats homework. And then I'll be like browsing YouTube on a break or something. I'll be like, okay, time to do my stats homework. Whereas previously I would just like waste a lot of time. So I guess long story short, in my freshman and sophomore years, I didn't really need to do time management because I don't know, I did homework pretty efficiently and I had free time. But recently I did Google Spreadsheets. And for me right now, Google Calendar is what is working. But I do know that people use a thing called Notion. Notion is too big brain for me. If you
Yeah,
guys want
bro.
to check out Notion, it's really useful, but I couldn't figure it out.
Dude, I just started trying to use Notion, but it takes so long to set up everything. I don't even know. There's so many things you can do with it.
Yeah,
Whatever.
there's literally like an array of buttons on the side and you can make like 50 different pages. It's just too confusing. Like I just
Yeah,
stick with whatever is very simple.
yeah, I agree. That works out. If it works, okay, who cares? Okay. Well, what else do we got to talk about? We could also talk about what you did for fun. What did you do for fun when you had
Oh,
extra time?
for fun? Okay. So I think that in many senses, this is almost like a trick question. I know
Yeah.
that Rohan did not intend this as a trick question, but my philosophy has always been that if you're doing something in high school which is not for fun and you're doing it for college, you should not be doing that thing. Um, so honestly, for me, all of my extracurriculars were very fun. I think that if I didn't have to go to Berkeley or like if I didn't have to go to college, like and I got like extra years as a high schooler, I would 100% want to keep doing the things that I'm doing right now in high school. Like I would still want to be running Silicon Valley Youth because it's so fun, like just working with people and figuring out like how to grow the organization and make it more stable. Like Science Bowl, really fun. FBLA, really fun. Volleyball, like newspaper, like all of these things, I really, really enjoyed, which is why I was able to do all of them so fast. I found that like when you enjoy doing something, you really put your mind to it and you can finish it really fast. But like some classes I didn't really enjoy. So some classes were like A push maybe.
Yeah, of course.
I know that yeah, bro. A push. That class took me forever, man. When I tried to focus on the readings, I simply could not focus. I just absolutely
That's
zone
why
out
you
of that
just
class.
don't do the readings, easy.
Yeah. So like towards the end, basically, I just resorted to not doing the readings. But like when you're not doing something that you, when you're doing something you enjoy, like you'll find that you do it very fast and like it's enjoyable, right? But for stuff that isn't fun, like maybe reconsider and maybe don't do it. Try to find something that you actually would enjoy putting the time into. Okay, so now I guess the intended answer for this question. In my free time, I play a lot of games. Not a lot of games, but my favorite pastimes, I guess, the things that I enjoyed were watching YouTube. I binge watch a lot of Gordon Ramsay. So I think in my freshman year, I finished all the seasons of MasterChef USA. And then in my sophomore year, I started watching like Hell's Kitchen from Gordon Ramsay and then Hotel Nightmares. So I basically finished like all the broadcasting things that Gordon Ramsay has created. So super fascinating. And then in my games, I guess I played Clash of Clans on my phone, kind of basic man, from sixth grade.
Sixth grade, indeed.
I'm a Town Hall 11, by the way, if you guys are
Bruh,
curious.
flex, okay.
Yeah, just had to flex a little bit. I play a lot of Surviv in, I guess, sophomore year with Rohan during lunch. Oh yeah, I play like League. This year I started playing chess during class with Rohan. Okay, maybe I should have mentioned it during class part, but
Yeah, don't tell them that. Come on, no one has to know.
this year I started playing a lot of chess with Rohan. We have maybe like 200 games together. By the way, my win-loss ratio is like 51-49 or something.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
It's pretty close, but I'm like slightly losing, so
Let's
I
just
gotta get that.
let's just not play anymore so that it stays that way. I don't think I don't think I have to worry about that.
Very, very debatable. And also I play a lot of Tetris in my free time.
Dang,
So yeah, I try to like when I'm enjoying or like relaxing, I guess, between homework assignments and between doing things, I try to make sure that the things that I'm doing take short amounts of time that I can just like stop whenever I need to. It's like Tetris takes like what, like 50 seconds per game. So I can play like 5 rounds of Tetris and I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna stop after this game. Versus if I were to play like a game of League or a game of StarCraft 2, like man, those games take like 45 minutes. Okay, there's no way you can stop in the middle. And it's just too much hassle to free up 45 minutes of my time.
Yeah, this is just solid reasoning why League is bad, okay? Sorry, guys.
League is bad, boys. Don't play League. Play chess instead. Chess is superior.
I agree. Well, honestly, I agree with all that stuff. Like, honestly, like, it is kind of a trick question, because, I mean, if you don't find something fun, you can't really do it that well. Like, I was doing robotics, like, for me, right, I did robotics in, like, 9th and 10th. I just gave up in 10th. I tried to do it, but then, like, eventually I just didn't do it enough, and I liked olympiads more, so I just quit robotics, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to do something half-heartedly and then just expect it to like work out eventually. So I agree with that. Very nice. That was a good answer. Much better than I would have given. Very nice. I guess what tips do you have other than just like do what enjoyable? Do you have any other like final tips? And what are your main regrets in high school?
I feel like this regret question is very similar to the
Yeah,
what did you enjoy question. I don't have too many regrets because I think that everything I did in high school turned me into who I am today. This sounds like a very cheesy and cliche answer, but it is the truth. I think that if I were able to go back and do it again, given the knowledge that I have, is I might do more hands-on projects and do more like legit things with my time. Some examples would be like very recently, I guess I discovered that I'm kind of interested in computer science. In 8th grade and 9th grade, I absolutely hated computer science. Like I really, really did not want to do it. And that's also why I stayed away from competition math for all of high school. So I didn't do AMCs, I didn't do AIMEs. I didn't do USACO until like 3 months ago. What else did I not do? I didn't do like most Olympiads. I didn't do physics. So I was kind of like, I was not the STEM guy, right? I was very interested in biology. So I kind of did USABO for fun, but I never really tried to go like too far with that. It was more of just enjoying biology for the sake of enjoying biology and trying to understand the different things for the sake of understanding things. Like if I wanted to make USABO, I would have read the ecology chapters of camel biology. But I have yet to touch the ecology chapters of camel biology
You do not
because
want to
those
touch
chapters
them,
are yeah, they're simply uninteresting for me. But I did buy many books on cellular microbiology and I did buy some books on plant biology because those two subjects were very, very interesting to me. So yeah, I think, again, this comes back to the idea of the best way to learn is just by doing. So figure out what you might want to do, possibly, and just try to do it. Like, don't read a textbook, you know? If you're interested in computer science, like probably you want to read a book to get the basics, right? But beyond that point, try to build some games, right? Maybe if you like to build, like if you like to play Tetris, try to code Tetris up yourself. Try to code like poker up yourself, or try to code something up yourself. And after you do it, you're going to learn a lot through the process of actually doing the project. And then, hey, like if you're still thinking about college, because I know that people who watch this channel think about college a lot, you can write it on your college resume because you can say, hey, this is something that I did. And it sounds much better than doing like, hey, this is a skill that I have from reading a book. Like I think the two things are reasonably equivalent, but it's just much better to just do things, I think.
Yeah.
That was the first part of that question. I feel like I didn't answer that first part.
I think I said regrets. What else did I ask? It was like
No, it's something and then regrets.
let's think. I think it was bruh.
Bruh.
Wait, this is actually so sad. Let me think for like 5 seconds. Let's see.
1,
Bro,
2,
come on.
3, 4,
Dude, you can't put the pressure on
5,
me. Bro, that's not fair.
6.
God dang it, dude. God dang it. Okay, well, okay. I will think of it. Come on. Um,
Oh, any tips?
oh yeah,
I
tips.
think that
Yeah,
was it.
tips. There's other tips other than like do what you enjoy. But I think you kind of touched on it. But if you have any more, I would not mind.
I think one tip would be friends matter. This sounds kind of bad, but like be careful with who you make friends with. It's not like you shouldn't like clearly don't make friends with bad people who will have a bad influence on you. Like that's the obvious part. But beyond that, there's like a lot of friends that you can possibly talk to and connect to. But just understand that making friends kind of takes energy, right? Like you need time to become friends and you need to invest into your relationships. So if you make it's fine to have friends that you enjoy talking to, but you need to kind of strategically make friends. Like don't manipulate them into becoming your friends, you know? But like just kind of do the things that you enjoy, and then at that point you can make the friends who will help you along the way. Yeah, so just make friends with people who you can enjoy talking to and people who you can enjoy like having fun with. And so as an example, Rohan, my relationship, a lot of times I will just ping him at like 9 p.m. and I'll give him like a brain teaser or like a puzzle.
Yeah,
And then
the
this
cat
guy will
problem was from him, dude. It was a very good problem. You guys should do the cat
indeed, the
problem.
cat problem was for me.
So good.
Yeah, if you guys check, where is it on your Discord?
Discord, yeah.
If you guys check the Karari Discord, there is a very interesting brain teaser problem about cats. Rohan, I actually have another one tonight that I'll give you.
Bro, you
But
better give it to me. I want to
yeah,
see this.
so I give Rohan questions very often, and Rohan like points me to very interesting resources. Like he got me pretty into CS actually. Like he was kind of the biggest influence for me in like kind of starting Python, starting Java, because I had so many questions, and then every time I asked him something, he would just help me out. So make like very, very positive friendships that you can always depend on in high school.
Yeah, that is good advice. Like, I think the idea is like if you are surrounded by people who are not motivated or like don't do things that are similar to you, you're also not going to be motivated and you're not going to like learn from your
Yeah.
friends. So I think
I think there's a very famous quote on this. I don't remember who said it, but it said something along the lines of like, you are the average of your 5 closest friends.
Oh wait, that's
So if you think about it, right? Think about who your 5 closest friends are. Like their effects are gonna wear off on you and they're gonna rub off on you. And you basically become an like conglomeration of whoever they are. So yeah.
Something to think about. Very nice, very nice. Okay, and then to end it off, what are you planning to do on college? In college, you kind of already touched on it, but just if you haven't said anything else, but like, yeah, just what are you planning to do in the future?
Well, this is a good question because I actually have absolutely no idea. I know that I'm going to college.
That is a good
And
thing
that's
to
the
know.
only thing that I know at the moment. I actually got into the Berkeley MET program as an undeclared engineering major. And I don't know if this is exactly true, but I was talking to the admissions officers, or actually Michael Grimes, who is the founder of the program. But he actually told me that undeclared engineering was the hardest major to get into. I don't know if it's Berkeley specific or like this program specific, but this program has 50 people and there's only 3 undeclared people. So that's also like a minor regret. If you apply to MET, like I thought that undeclared would give me a higher chance of getting in, but in fact, it did not. But I think I'm gonna be trying EECS out in my first 2 years, so EE and CS, and then I'll be doing business management as well. So like those are the 2 majors I'm gonna get clearly, but I don't really know. I'm hoping to kind of try to find friends, see if we can do something entrepreneurial or startup-y. If that doesn't work out, I think that I'm probably going to go for the 5-year MBA or possibly even go into law school afterwards. These are just like open-ended things that I'm just tossing out there. Like I'm not sure about what I actually want to do yet, but I think we'll see. In like 2-3 years, I'll have a much firmer path on what I want to do.
Yeah, honestly, expecting to know what you're going to do exactly in freshman year is bad. Like, I mean, not bad, but just very unlikely. Dude, I don't even know what I want to do. I know I want to for sure get an EECS major because, like, you know, jobs are a thing. But I don't know anything else beside that. By the way, to answer your like undeclared question, I think the reason why there's so few undeclared is because very few people apply undeclared. but like the acceptance rate is technically higher. I'm not even gonna try deciding like which one's harder to get into, but I think it's like less people. Acceptance rate is different, but I also don't know like whether more OP people are applying undeclared or EECS, right? Like so, there's a lot
Yeah.
of factors, but
I was told by Grimes actually that to get into undeclared, you have to get into all the majors.
what the
Like you have
heck?
to have been admitted to all the majors to be able to be admitted undeclared.
Oh really?
Because Berkeley, or like I guess most college, or I guess Berkeley actually, because it's so big, they don't want like a billion undeclared majors because then they have no track on like who's going to major and what, and it's very hard to track their students and make sure that they have a rough like correlation of students every single year or like a rough trend. So they prefer to have as little undeclared as possible.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
talking about like the what you're gonna do, I think that Rohan and I were both pretty interested in biology in like ninth grade, right?
Yeah.
And our paths like changed a lot in high school. So it really just has to do with kind of figuring out and like coincidentally meeting people, coincidentally like running into the right people and figuring out that like, wow, this thing is actually very interesting. Maybe I want to do this instead. So life will take you on a lot of different paths.
Dude, the problem is that there's too many interesting things to do. Like, I'm still interested in bio. It's not like I don't like bio anymore, but it's just like, CS is even cooler. I don't know, robots are cool too. I don't know what to do with life, but we'll see, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We will see
Oh,
indeed.
yes. Alright, well, that is Oliver Yee. I hope you guys enjoyed. This guy's a very cool kid. You can see from his thumbs up that he's a cool kid. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe for more. Oliver, do you have anything else to tell them? You should tell them to do stuff on my channel.
That's my final comment is bananas are good. Eat your bananas, eat your fruits, stay hydrated. And if you're interested in Carrara videos, hit that subscribe button.
Let's go.
And
That's what I was looking for.
in the comment section, tell Carrara what you would like to see in the future because he will be making more YouTube videos for you guys.
Yes. Alright. Thank you guys for watching again, and see you guys next time.